Hi, welcome. I'm Fady Hayek. I'm over here at Vintage King today, and we're very, very happy to introduce the new XL desk. This is a brand new mixer that SSL has put out. You probably know that SSL comes out with a lot of new and innovative and often very, very clever products like the Matrix and the AWS and the Nucleus. A lot of products essentially that's very connected to the technology. The XL desk takes a different direction. Really goes into a much more simple, easy to use, quick-paced analog mixing environment with the flexibility to put in your own effects and processors very easily. So the XL desk itself is a 24 by 8 mixer. So you've got 24 channels with 4 stereo buses. The first group of 8 channels you see here have 8 VHD microphone pre's. Now the VHD mic pre's you're probably familiar with if you're familiar with SSL. We have them on our duality console. VHD stands for variable harmonic drive, and it's a circuit design, it's a patented circuit design that SSL came up with that allows us to engage and disengage effectively 2 style pre's. So the first one, when it's disengaged, is a very clean, high transient response microphone pre, very reminiscent of an SSL pre, 9000 pre. If you engage the VHD circuit, that engages a harmonic driver, and that can then be tuned to either second order or third order harmonics, which means you can get either a transistor type distortion or a tube style distortion. And how much of that distortion you blend in depends on how much of the gain that you add. So you've got those 8 microphone pre's on the first input channels. Moving on to the next 8 channels, you have line inputs on every channel, and so you don't have the microphone pre's on that set, but you can of course use microphone pre's, for example, on the 500 series area. Just after that, we've got 4 stereo inputs. So again, very similar to the design of the AWS 948, we've got 4 stereo channels on the very end there. Going down the line here, we've got direct outputs on every channel. So this is your gain selection, your trim selection for that. Here you can either select the microphone pre or the DAW selection. So if you want to monitor post DAW or pre DAW, it's just simply select this button, and that will flip the signal path. You can also assign the DAW return to the aux1. So when you're actually not tracking on this and using the effects end for a headphone mix for a cue, you can select Alt here, and that will give you the DAW signal onto the monitor return. That effectively allows you to double the channel count. So this channel actually becomes a 2 input channel. Going down the row here, you've got a phase invert button, and just below that, a 500 button. And now the 500 button engages insert that normally when we ship this unit, it has a jumper on the back of it that selects the first insert point directly onto its corresponding 500 series module. So this area here is automatically connected to this row of 500 series buttons. From there, you have a secondary insert point. So just after the 500 series insert point, you have another one, and that can be engaged in series. So you can have an outside effect that way, or a series of 2 effects in that order. We've got 3 effects ends. The first one here is a stereo effects end with its own pan. Generally on tracking, you're going to use this as your cue. We actually have a QA and a QB available on this console, so you can dedicate them to, this one is dedicated to QA in tracking. Going down the mix here to the second effects end, this is a mono effects end, that's QB for tracking, and then the third effects end over here is just again same as aux1. So in total you have 3 effects ends on this, and you've got panner and your bus assignments. You have 4 buses on this, bus A, B, C, and D, very reminiscent of the old classic SSL 9000 series, where you can drop in any of your channels to any of those buses. Now on the master section, those buses have their own insert points. They have also access to the 500 series modules. So these last 8 modules here, 9 through 16, normally are wired to the 500 series button here until you dedicate them to one of the buses. So for example, if you engage the 500 series button on bus A, that means that modules 9 and 10 are going to be rerouted to bus A. If you do that on bus B, then 11 and 12 will go to bus B, 13, 14, bus C, 15, 16, bus D. So this way, if you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of modules available and you like to dedicate them to tracking and to mixing, utilizing those modules on the last 8 makes a lot of sense because it gives you that flexibility to move them from tracking to mixing using the buses. We got 18 slots available on this mixer. The last 2 slots are populated with the 500 series bus compressor. This is the Black Series 500 that's available for the 500 series module. There'll be a slight variation on this. The one that you see today right now is actually not going to be the one that's shipping. There's going to be a high-pass filter version available with side chaining. So the one that will ship with the XL desk will actually have a high-pass filter and side chain capabilities. That's been a feature a lot of our clients have been asking for, to be able to isolate the low frequency harmonics out of the bus compressor itself, so that it's not always triggering and hammering down on its signal path. So that'll be available in the XL desk release. The rack itself, the 500 series rack up here, does have its own set of sends and returns, meaning that on the back of the console you have DB25 connectors for the first 8 that have sends and returns. So you can isolate them from the console if you choose to. If you want to pop them into patch bay, it's very easy to do. Just take the 500 send on a DB25 cable right into a patch bay, and then you can patch them anywhere you like. When the console ships, it will ship with a jumper that will allow you to jump the 500 series send to the first insert return and vice versa. So it automatically normals it, if you will, onto the available 500 series button. You don't have to actually use that. If you use a patch bay, you can pretty much do whatever you like on routing that way. And that's really the intended purpose of that. So you're not stuck just having to use that module on that one channel. You can route it through a patch bay to pretty much anywhere you like. There's 2 versions of the XL desk that will ship. One that will have just the bus compressor and all the other modules empty. That will ship for just under $20,000. The second one will have 500 series versions of the EQs, populated 16 of them, and that will ship for $32,999, so $33,000. It's about a $4,000 discount over purchasing these modules discretely. So starting on the other end of the console here, we'll start with a master mix, or mix A in this case. You've got your master fader, and you have this button just above it, which is called the comp button. That button, when you hit it, it engages the circuit for the 500 series bus compressor. So that is essentially, again, another hardwired insert. You don't necessarily have to use it. You can break away from that. There are D-sub sends and returns available on the back, so that the bus compressor itself can be used on any signal or any bus in the console by patching it through. You've got a insert button just above that. So again, just like we did before, you have the ability to set up an insert point on that bus. That works in series, as you see it listing from here, from top to bottom. You'll also notice that there is a 500 button. So as I was mentioning earlier, you're able to steal the 9 and 10 modules, and that's the button that engages that feature. So when I select that, it's going to its normal path on channels 9 and 10, and vice versa. And so this, again, lets me use those 500 modules for my mix bus. And that is, again, identical when you go up to the remaining mix buses. So mix B, C, and D have identical features on there. You have the 500 button, the insert button, and they all have a feature called insert sum, which is available on a lot of our mixers. And what insert sum allows me to do is to take the return of an insert effect, the inserted effect itself, and mix it with the direct signal. So if I wanted to do things like parallel processing or parallel compression, for example, I can do that. But one of the really cool features about that I tend to use quite often is to add more channels. Because with this mixer, when you utilize the monitor returns in tandem with the main channels, you're doubling your channel count. And when you add those effects returns, you've got about 40 channels available to you. However, if you engage insert sum, you can feed another set of stereo channels into those buses and go to 50 channels if you need to. So you can add a lot of channels into this thing on Mixdown by using some of these clever tricks that are available. So looking at the stereo returns, you've got stereo Q that you can engage here, and AFL solo with panning and level selection, and the ability to address them or send them to any of your effects, your mix buses times 2. The master section is very reminiscent of a lot of SSL master sections. So starting with the very familiar chunky dim and cut buttons with the master volume knob, which again, of course, goes to 11. Yes, we came up with that one first. And you've got your dim selection and your after fader listen selection knob over here. Your talkback mic is selected right from here. You also have 2 talkback channels. So if you want to separate QA, QB, let's say QA is going to be for the vocalist and QB is going to be for the rest of the band, you can separate them from one another. Those, by the way, those latching modes are adjustable using dip switches in the back. So if you want momentary versus latching, there's a set of dip switches available in the back that will allow you to adjust them to the way you prefer. There's also a listen mic compressor input on the back, and yes, it has the famous LMC that you've come to know from the Phil Collins drum sounds of the 80s. It's a XLR connector that's right on the back of the console. That can be, you can hook up your microphone, your listen mic compressor mic, your listen mic, and feed it right into the LMC signal over here. And that's the gain knob for that, and the gain knob for your talkback volume. Q stereo level QA and QB volume select from here. And if you wanted to, you can monitor those headphone mixes, those cues, right from here. So in case you're bothered or the artist is bothered by something in their headphones and you don't know what they're talking about, you just simply hit this monitor button, then you can hear what they're hearing in their headphones. Just above that, you've got your monitor select, monitor source, and your headphone section for your studio headphones. So the monitor select lets you select up to 3 different speakers. When this is disengaged, you're in speaker 1. Mini A or Mini 1 and Mini B and Mini 2 are selectable and switchable from here. You can engage and disengage a subwoofer for that speaker. The dip switches on the back also allow you to use a low-pass filter for the subwoofer. So if you want to do any kind of bass management, you can do that really easily by selecting the dip switches in the back and engaging and disengaging that subwoofer very simply from this button. Mono button is available to you here, so if you want to monitor your speakers in mono, monitor your mix bus in mono, that does that. Moving on to the monitor source area, you've got the main mix A here, which is you can monitor the speakers to that. And you have an external stereo input as well. So for your mix down device, for example, that's where you're going to use that for. And the handy I jack, which you find on other SSL mixers. So if somebody walks in and says, hey, check out this thing I just listened to, jacks in their iPhone or their whatever player that they happen to be using, and you just hit the I jack button and you're able to monitor that through your speaker system. And you can sum all sources together if you choose to. And again, this is one of the nice little handy tricks where you can add a few extra monitor sources. Let's say a side mixer or could be added to the external source and be able to add some extra channels that way. Well, thank you very much for taking the time out to check out the Excel desk with me today. We will be debuting this product officially at the AES show, so if you get an opportunity to come out to Los Angeles this year, definitely want to stop at the SSL booth to check this out. It'll also be available at the Vintage King LA and Vintage King Nashville locations, basically at the same time, so you can also check it out there. If you have any questions about the Excel desk, please contact your Vintage King sales associate, and thank you very, very much for your time today, and have a good day.